Hello, it's your Furry Professor Kyra, and I am relaxing in my bed for this video because it kind of goes along with what it's going to be about. As a content creator, there is one thing that I have very much had my own struggles overcoming that I feel like a lot of others have issues with as well, and that is burnout. Now, what is burnout? Burnout can be kind of a lot of different things, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about creating content. It could just be life burnout. It's basically when you kind of like lose every amount of motivation to do a certain thing. For this video's sake, I want to kind of focus on the video portion because making content is very, very overwhelming at times. And sometimes if you're not in the right headspace, getting the motivation to make content is very difficult. So a little about kind of what I've experienced with video burnout is when I had gotten my very first fursuit, I wore it all the time and I made content all the time for hours on end. I posted multiple videos a day for weeks on end, and it was very fun for a very long time. But then about a year went by and the motivation kind of started to dip. Wanting to wear my suit started to dip, and I realized that I was doing too much, and that is a real issue. You as a content creator, you understand, you have to make content, but there is something that I feel like is very important to talk about, and that's you don't have to make content all the time. You make content when you are ready and feel good to do so. Because I feel like burnout is stemming from life. If you're not feeling the greatest in your, life sense, it's going to really impact every other thing you do. Because content creating for most of us is a hobby. For me, it's a hobby. I just like doing these videos for fun. So I feel like when life isn't fun, nothing else is fun. So how do you overcome it? Well, it is actually very easy, and there isn't just one way to overcome the burnout. And what has helped me a lot is taking a break. Content creating is not everything. People make it seem like you need to do it from the minute you wake up till you go to bed. Absolutely not. When I make content, I kind of section off part of the day, whether it's an hour or two, and I make as much videos as possible, and then I'll take a break for a few days. There may be times when I have a spark of motivation and in a random moment of the day, I'll make a video, but those are those very nice situations where I'm like, I want to make a video. But that doesn't happen all the time, and that's okay. So I don't make content creating my only thing that I do, because when you start to do that, it kind of loses the fun of it, especially if you are doing this as a hobby. Because when you're doing it like I was doing, hours a day, posting so much, you not only lose the motivation, but you kind of lose ideas for videos. For me, and like this suit, I realized that my content has to be based on stuff that I can talk about. And a lot of times I'm like, what do I talk about? Because I've talked about a lot of different stuff. And that for me was very hard to overcome because it created burnout. So what I recommend, taking a break, taking a full break, and just relaxing like I'm doing right now. I'm literally in my bed, relaxing, in my fursuit, which I highly recommend. And sort of just letting yourself breathe. Let yourself have time to kind of recuperate and relieve the stress that making content can create. Because it is very difficult to create content sometimes. Even for my other accounts, I struggle. And I won't lie. My one suit, I have not worn, I think now for almost a year. Because the motivation is not there to wear it. It's not that I am disconnected from the character. It's just I don't have the motivation and sort of headspace to be that character. So like it's very hard for me to make content for them. For this character, it is rather low energy, especially when I'm making, you know, videos like this where I'm just kind of talking, because it's kind of like just being me with a mask on. So it's very easy and not very high energy. Now I do have a suit that I'm very high energy, and I have to very like strategically make my videos because I can't be high energy all the time, which is funny because, you know, I'm a mascot, but that's because in those moments of time I have the high energy because it just comes to me. Burnout really does affect those kinds of things, wanting to be high energy. I will say though, when it comes to like mascot work, you can't have burnout, because especially if you're doing it as a job like I do, you can't just go there and be like, yeah, I can't do this today. You have to. But that's a different topic. For video content, just take that break. Take that week, take that month, take that year. You are the most important thing in your life. And I have said it in a bunch of videos. You are the most important thing. If people are mad at you because you're not posting content, that's their problem. Your health and your safety come first, especially mental health. Because making content all the time can be very overwhelming. Your content should be good for you just as much as it is for other people to, you know, watch the content. But if you feel like now you're like forcing yourself to do it, maybe it's time for a break. Now, taking a break isn't the only thing. I had mentioned like sectioning part of the day. Sometimes burnout can come in the form of just not overwhelming, but you just like, I really don't want to do this, but you want to. Because I face that a lot, where I don't have the motivation, and it's not because I'm burned out or overwhelmed. It's more so because it's just getting yourself to just do something. Doing something you just really want to do, but you're just like, you know, fuzzy brained or whatever, and you just don't want to do it. But like, you kind of like go, okay, I'm going to section this period of time to do it. And that's what I do. So for my high energy suit, I will take that section of time and go, okay, be as crazy and as silly as you want, film yourself, make those videos, and then take a big break after. And guess what? That section time where I tell myself, okay, you only have to do it for this long. And then honestly, what I've realized from that, when you do those little like scheduled parts, you tend to actually want to make videos longer, because you're like, oh, this is like really fun, because you finally got yourself into doing it. And you're like, wow, I really want to make videos. Well, don't stop. Never stop if you feel like you want to do more. Unless you're like on the brink of passing out. Please stop then. But burnout really just isn't as scary as it seems. But coming from someone who, God, I have it all the time, it's okay. Because everyone has it. Making content is not easy. It's not. It's very difficult. It's very much a mind game. You have to be in the right state of mind to make not only content that should just make content, but content that people will watch. Because obviously when I make content, I want people to watch it. I want people to learn from it, or I want people to be entertained, or whatever the reason. So if you're just kind of like, making content, you know, which for me, I can't do that. Because obviously for Akira, I'm always, you know, talking about something. So I have to be kind of high energy in the sense of a topic, which doing these videos are really fun. And I actually can use this video as an example. This is not a time slotted little thing. I just happen to think about, wow, it'd be really great to talk about burnout, because it is a real thing that people kind of get to at some point, especially with making content with a fursuit. And it's like, well, what do I do now? So there are options. And I also will say, this is specifically for full suiters. Full suiting is exhausting. My high energy suit is a full suit. If being in the full suit is part of the problem, then partial. just wear the head and paws, just wear the head, you know, whatever is going to make it easier. Like, if you want to make the content but you think wearing the full suit is just too much, play around, do different things. And I understand for some people it's like, well, it's, you know, you have to be the whole character. I get it, I understand, but it's an idea. So, burnout, not terrifying. It is a very real thing, but is also a very real thing to understand. And you have to understand what's going to be best for you. If you need a break from content, awesome, take that break. If you need to maybe change up how you're doing things, cool, do that. If you need to schedule that slot of time to do things, do that. If you have to force yourself to get yourself up and make that content, do it. You have to find what's best for you. But always remember, the most important part is you. You are most important. Video content isn't going anywhere. You need to focus on your health, your safety, because that will always be the most important part. Always. Now, if you ever have questions about anything, always ask. It does actually help me make videos and overcome burnout when people want to learn more things about either what I talk about or their own questions. So I always recommend ask. The worst that'll happen is, I don't know, I just don't see it, which sometimes I don't. Or maybe it is something that maybe I don't understand, but I can at least, you know, take a shot in the dark, because I've done that sometimes. People have asked me questions that I didn't really know, but I gave them like my kind of idea of what they might be looking for, and I actually ended up helping them out. So, like I said, always ask. It helps with my burnout, so that's a plus, but it also like helps me generate new ideas to talk about for future content. So that is all I have. I am going to now relax, because for me, that is the best way to overcome burnout. Bye, guys.